Welcome to Nerd.World. If you're new here, please like, share, and subscribe. If you're returning, welcome back. And if you haven't already, and you've already watched my videos and you are liking what I'm making on this channel, I am still trying to grow as a channel, make more videos, make them a little more professional. If you could like, share, and subscribe, it'll really help. And if you like these, please head over to Nerd.World Films, where I do something a little different. The videos are a little more orientated towards movies, usually horror or sci-fi. I've got a lot of films episodes on there yet, but there will be more coming. There's one coming in 2, maybe 3 days from when I posted this video. If you like those, please like, share, and subscribe in that channel as well. And with that all said, let's get started with this video. And in this video we are going to be talking about robots of varying sci-fi franchises that have been forgotten or lost and just aren't as well in the public consciousness as things like a B-1 battle droid or the T-800. So I'm not going to be touching on the Terminator, or once again I'm not really going near the Star Wars franchise, but I'm going to be focusing in on some of the forgotten gems of horror sci-fi over probably the last 30 years from both television and movie. And if I forget any, let me know, because I like doing videos like this, and if I find out about a load more that I haven't missed on this video, I'll gladly do another one on it. And with that said, let's get with our first robot. The number 6 on this list is Johnny 5 from the Short Circuit movies. Now, this isn't exactly an obscure film, and they're pretty mainstream, but I think they're a little forgotten. I don't think they're as celebrated as they should be. I mean, I'm personally not a huge fan of the second movie, but the first one is awesome. It's great. And I like all the robots. It's both a good combination of humor, sci-fi, and a little touch of horror. But I do like, for example, the slapstick scene where it turns the 3 other sort of sibling robots into the 3 Stooges, because he personally finds them funny. Basically, Johnny 5 is a battle droid created for war, but with his own personal laser, and he gets struck by lightning, which is a pretty common theme in these movies, which somehow lightning equals intelligence, and he becomes self-aware, doesn't want to be a murder bot anymore, and he wants to build a life, start a family, whatever the hell he wanted to do, which was always a little bit creepy how kind of close he was getting to the woman in the film. But the robot itself I thought was a good design. It was pretty cool looking how it ran on those 2 tracks and the little turners back. I mean, a lot of these robots were built practically for the movie as well, at least practically for the 80s, in that obviously there was no CG back then, not to the same degree. So these robots were pretty practical, but they had mechanical moving parts. They were well made. It took multiple operators, multiple puppeteers, but they were good machines. And they were fairly cool looking, and their designs obviously inspired things like WALL-E and other such robots in other franchises. I just feel it's a bit more of a mover and a shaker of a machine than what it's sometimes recognized for being. Recording this, I have just realized what an opportunity I've missed, making Johnny 5 number 5 on this list. But I ain't going back to record that. The number 5 spot is taken by the various machines from the different Lost in Space incarnations, of which there have been a few. There's obviously the original series made in the 60s. Should have researched that. I think it was the 60s. And my personal one, which was more from my generation, starring Matt LeBlanc back in '99, with the Rambler Crane series robot, which I just thought was one of the coolest robots I'd ever seen on film. When I think I went to the cinema to see that film, and I remember seeing that robot. It was my favorite parts of it, that and Lacey Chabert. It was my favorite part of most things that she's in. Where was I? Right, the Rambler Crane. The robot in that film ran on tracks, had basically 4 arms, 2 large ones and then 2 sort of little anemic ones underneath. Well, more like tools, they weren't really arms. And I did like the head, where the head would move and the sort of piece inside it would move independently, which I thought was really cool, and how it was perverted by Dr. Smith to try and just sabotage the ship to ruin the entire mission. A man with clearly poor sense of self-preservation, considering the Earth was dying. You think he'd have known better, regardless of money or whose side politically he thought he was on, which was no one's, I don't think. The original series Robot we'll get to, actually, but the newer series of Lost in Space is on Netflix, which is very good. If you've not seen it, you should check it out. No one's trying to make me promote that, it just is awesome. It's a bit like The Expanse. You should check it out. It's criminally underrated. It's brilliant. The robot in that, they twist it up a little bit. The robot kind of looks like an amalgamation of different things. It looks somewhat organic. It looks like it's sinewy and muscly, even though it's mechanical. And it has aspects of the robots in the previous incarnations, but is actually alien and seems to be completely self-aware to begin with, and makes a conscious choice to bond with Will Robinson after he helps it. There was also a forgotten pilot made in the early 20th century, I think, which I've never seen. I've tried to find. It's really, really difficult to find it. I've seen clips, so I've never seen the robot that was going to feature in that, if there was one, which I imagine there would have been. So I can't really judge that one, but I know that was a big divergence from a lot of the lore of Lost in Space. But that's it. The robots from Lost in Space, all very cool. Sometimes, again, little forgotten. The number 4 spot is taken by the ABC Warrior from Judge Dredd. Now, I know the film isn't great. I personally don't hate it, but then again, I'm not really a big reader of 2000 AD. So, to be honest with you, before Judge Dredd came out, I'd never heard of Judge Dredd. I thought it was just a film. I didn't know it was based on a comic book. I was young at the time. But the ABC Warrior, man, that thing kicked ass. It's a highlight of the film, definitely. It's huge, hulking. I couldn't help as younger, and even as an adult, I can't help sometimes compare it to the T-800, because they are kind of similar. Both got a kind of skull-like face, and they're both just man-killers. It's got big machine guns built into its knuckles, and I talk about a hard punch. The machine's more than strong enough to rip a man's arms and legs off without even, losing any of its hydraulic fluid, I suppose, over it. It's a monster of a machine, and is one of the best things, probably the best thing about that movie. Because, to be honest, there isn't much else that's good in that movie. But the robot itself is definitely a standout in that film. And I mean, if I actually missed this, I think I missed this for God knows how many reruns of the film. But there's actually 2 of them. You see it when Rico reactivates the machine. There's another one just next to it, which I don't understand now. When I was like, why didn't you activate that one too? Maybe it was too damaged, I don't know. But the machines are awesome, and it kicked ass, and you can't deny that the thing kicked ass, even though the film didn't. Number 3 is the Protector 101 series from Chopping Mall. A fairly obscure and, again, just bonkers movie. The robots in this are clearly like a low-rent version of Johnny 5. Hell, they even get sentience by being struck by lightning. It really was a pretty damn common trope back then. Lightning's magic, ladies and gentlemen. Magical. Go out there, get struck by it, you increase your IQ. Please don't do that. It won't increase your IQ, it'll probably kill you. Now, the robots in this I don't even know where to begin with them. They're just awesome, but they are terrible. The things, they're not threatening. They can barely move. They're little robot things with stubby little heads, but they're awesome. They're armed with like little grapplers and lasers, and they kind of look like someone made a live-action version of a robot you might have seen in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon. That's what they always kind of make me think when I see them. And the basic premise of the movie is a bunch of kids get trapped in the mall after hours because they stay there for a late night party, and the robots get struck by lightning and they all come to life and start lethally enforcing their policy, which is to protect them all, stop shoplifters or whatever. But they do it by being lethal. They kill their own handler, the guard, and then they start systematically killing them. And there's one just awesome bit where one of the robots shoots this girl and her head freaking explodes, and you're in an awesome 80s movie when that's happening. The film itself is a bit of a cult has a bit of a cult following now, and I do recommend watching it just for laughs. You know, get drunk, get some popcorn, and watch it. I think currently it's free on Amazon. It's more expensive to buy, cost me like 20 quid to buy, because despite the, you know, odd accent, I'm actually British. I don't know with the accent, I don't know what's going on there. But anyway, Shopping Mall Robots, the Protector 101 series. It's a good film. Number 2 spot is occupied by the teachers from class of 1999. These were robots that were actually built for frontline military service, but because of the sheer, you know, awful conditions in the school system in the US at the time, the robots were being repurposed for education, to teach the young generation not to harm each other. Basically, they were thought that, you know, people can't handle these things, let's give robots a try. Sort of worked. They only kill a few of the students, but, you know, only the unruly ones. This was one of my favorite films back when I was a film student, and I remember being introduced to it. It's actually strangely, this film is supposed to be a sequel to Class of 1984, which has no robots in it, nothing sci-fi, but yet this is somehow its sequel. Maybe spiritual sequel, I think, might be a better determination. But there were basically 3 of them. Each one was special, basically abilities. One with like rockets in its arm, but again, they were a flamethrower, machine gun, stuff like that. They were basically Terminator knockoffs. You couldn't get around it. They had like an endoskeleton underneath a rubbery skin, and they basically just started killing people because, you know, it was the best way to ensure order in the school. And it ended up with a cat and mouse game at the end of the film where the kids are trying to destroy them and lay traps for them and stuff when, you know, get out of the school alive, which on a normal day in that school was pretty damn hard anyway, considering all, you know, armed gangs and stuff that were there. But now we got killer freaking robots there as school teachers. But, you know, I got that film is good. It's just, yeah, it's awesome. I've had it on DVD. It's one of my oldest DVDs. That's how I might even have it on video somewhere. Yeah, love it. Told you we'd come back to it. The original robot from Lost in Space was basically Robbie the Robot. A machine so famous, so ubiquitous, it has its own IMDb page. It's treated that much as a character. This machine, or man in a suit rather, was in everything from Forbidden Planet with Leslie Nielsen, a film that may end up on one of these lists one day, brilliant movie, all the way through to Gremlins. The machine's fantastic. It appears in everything. It's a bit of a cult machine. It's a bit like the Wilhelm scream. It's kind of Spot Robbie. Robbie the Robot. Greatest actor of all time. The number 1 spot on this list is taken by The War Beast from Death Machine, a film that is genuinely one of my favorite films ever. I love everything about it. There's too many things to name. Starting with the character names, like you got Scott Ridley. Everything in it's an homage to something else. It's got Easter eggs from beginning to end. It's just fantastic. It's got Charles Lee Ray himself, Brad Dourif, as the villain, the main antagonist other than the robot, but the robot's creator. Everything in the film is brilliant. It's all a play on something. The Shank Corporation that runs it. It's like it's stabbing the world, fucking it over, basically. The machine itself is a large, semi-bipedal, gorilla-ish looking thing with huge, massive, clawed hands and a, massive, sharp T-Rex-like head that'll just mince you. The machine's pretty much indestructible. It falls off a building, down an elevator shaft. It gets machine gunned. It just keeps going. It actually can track you based on how afraid of it you are. So the more scared you are, the easier this thing find you. The creator calls it a frontline morale destroyer. This thing's basically a guerrilla weapon. It has no projectiles, it's no bullets, it doesn't have guns on it like the ABC Warrior. It's not like super intelligent like Commander Data. It's just a machine built to go A to B, and when it reaches B, it kills everything there, except the person who's controlling it, or anyone that happens to not have fear, which is one weapon they try and use against it, which I'm not going to spoil, because it's just too cool. Everything about this film is just too cool to spoil. It is one of the best cult horror robot sci-fi movies you're ever going to find out there. And it's well made, well acted, and again, it's got Brad Dourif in it. What more do you need? Forget the robot, forget everything else. Just give me Brad Dourif in a room, I'll watch it. Same with Morgan Freeman. You could get me Morgan Freeman reading the Bible, and I would just listen to it. Reading a diary, reading a dictionary, anything. Watching paint dry and talking about it. The guy you could listen to. I'm getting off topic. The robot, the war beast. It's awesome. Go see it. Well, anyway, that's everything for this video. If you liked it, please like, share, and subscribe. Please check out my other channel, Nerd.World Films. If you like that too, please like, share, and subscribe. If you're feeling particularly excited and you want to get notified, because it would be very helpful to me and very helpful for my channel growing, because I know how YouTube are altering the algorithm to make it more difficult for my videos, particularly small channels like mine, very small channels like mine, to get started in the first place, because unless you press that bell icon, you won't get the videos at all. If you do, thank you. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.